Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shah, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shah. All praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, Bahashem Rekakadash. Now, we're going to bring out this Bible in the way it should be brought out. First of all, our people think that the Bible is about God versus fallen angels. So let's destroy that lie from the devil, the true devil, and the true Satan, and the true red dragon who formulated the lie and pushed the lie. So let's go to Revelation chapter 12. Because that's one of the main verses that the devil, the real devil, used to deceive our people. Now when you go to Revelation chapter 12 verse 9, it say, and the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan. Now when you look at that, it's telling you what it's talking about. Everybody went to elementary school and they learned about paragraphs and how to read. They learned about the writing. When you started off, the main idea of the thing that you're reading is at the beginning of the verse, or it's at the end of the verse, or the paragraph that you're reading. And so this thing is letting you know specifically, and the great dragon. So it's letting you know the premise of what the statement is all about. The premise is about the great dragon. It's not about nothing else. It's about the great dragon. Now when you go to verse 3, it explains the great dragon. So it says in verse 3, it says, and there appeared another wonder in heaven. Not talking about heaven with God, because it's levels to this heaven thing. Heaven means mainly three things. It means the sky. It means rulership, being above all the nations, ruling over the nations, and it means the third heaven where God exists, and the angels, another dimension. So it don't mean one all the time, but that's what our people, when they hear that stuff, they think about what so-called the real devil has told them, that it means where God is there all the time. Because this is Apostle John that's quoting this right here. He said, and there appeared another wonder in heaven, and behold, a great red dragon, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and 7 crowns upon his head. Now, you got the great red dragon, having 7 heads and 10 horns. So what does this mean? Let's go to Revelation chapter 17. We're going to get straight to the point. It says in verse 12, Revelation 17:12, and the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings. So these 10 horns that's on the red dragon are 10 kings. This is not angels that fell to the earth. It has nothing to do with that. Because when they get to the end of verse 9, it said he was cast out into the earth, and his angels was cast out with him. And they assume that it's talking about angels that's in heaven. But the word angels mean messenger. That's all it means, messenger. It doesn't mean a spirit. Angel does not mean spirit. It means a messenger. So that's the main confusion with our people. And they sticking with Christianity and with the lies that the real devil has told them. Because these 10 kings are the kings of the earth. What is so significant about the kings of the earth? Well, when you go into Revelation 19, you understand the kings of the earth, who they are against. Revelation 19:19. It said, and I saw the beast and the kings of the earth and their armies gathered together to make war against him that sat on the horse and against his army. So who was sitting on the earth? On this horse. And where was he sitting on this horse? Let's go to Revelation 19:11. It tells you. It's saying, I saw heaven open, and behold, a white horse. So the same place you see this red dragon, he's seeing Yahushua, who they ignorantly call Jesus Christ, sitting on the white horse. So he's saying Revelation 19:11, and I saw heaven open, and behold, a white horse, and he that sat upon him was called Faithful and True, and in righteousness he do judge and make war. Jump down to verse 14 to get to the point. And the armies which were in heaven followed him upon white horses. So this is all going down in heaven. It's talking about not with God, but in the sky. See, because these armies of the kings of the earth cannot go up in heaven. They can go into the space. They can't even go into outer space. These jets, fighter jets that these dragons got, the blue angels, they cannot fly into the heaven. They only can stay on earth and fight in the sky. So that's what this thing is talking about. That's when you can go back up to verse 7 in Revelation 12, chapter 12. Revelation chapter 12. That's the war that is talking about with this great dragon that have 10, the great dragon is 10 kings. It told you plainly in 17 and 12. The 10 horns that you saw was 10 kings. Now it says in verse 7, it said, and there was a war in heaven. That's where Yahushua in chapter 19, he was fighting the armies of the kings of the heaven, the kings of the earth. He was fighting the kings of the earth in heaven, Yahushua, sitting on a white horse. So the same war is being talked about in chapter 12, verse 7. And there was a war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon. The dragon is the 10 horns, the 10 kings. And the dragons fought and his angels. His angels is the army that he has. See, the 10 kings, let's read 19:19 again. It said, and I saw the beast and the kings of the earth and their armies gathered together to make war. With who? Against him that sat on the horse. Let's do verse 11, verse 19 and 11. It say, and I saw heaven open up, and behold, a white horse. See? He looking in heaven, the sky, and he see a white horse. Then in verse 14, 2 verses down, and the armies which were in heaven, see, the armies was in heaven, and the kings of the earth armies was fighting Yahushua's armies in heaven. These are not talking about angels, because the so-called angels, the real angels, was fighting the army, kings of the earth armies in the sky. It was not heaven. See, that's why our people don't understand who is the devil. The devil is not no fallen angel. That's because they lack knowledge of the Bible. The Bible is not talking about angels in the third heaven, in another dimension. Because these armies of the earth cannot go up there and fight them angels. I don't care if they even have a spaceship. They can't go up there and fight these angels. It's not going to happen. It's only going to be in the sky they fighting these angels. But this is what our people believe, that this is talking about Satan, the adversary of God, which is a fallen angel. That's not the Bible. The Bible is about the kings of the earth. Let's go to Psalms 2. King David let you know it had nothing to do with no fallen angels. He never made a point to talk about we need to do something about these fallen angels. It's gonna be a war against these fallen angels. These fallen angels harassing us, doing things to us. Nowhere in Psalm. He said the adversary, he was gonna put his enemy beside the adversary. Satan. That don't say he talking about a spirit. See? But let's get the verse. What is the Bible about? Psalms chapter 2, verse 1. Why do the heathen rage? These are the non-Israelites. And the people imagine a vain thing. Okay, he finna get to the point of verse 2 of chapter 2 of Psalm. The kings of the earth set themselves, and their rulers take counsel together against the Lord and against his anointed, saying, verse 3, let us break their bands asunder and cast away their cords from us. So now you can clearly see this is not talking about no angel. The battle is between the Israelites and the kings of the earth. Now when you go into 83, you go to Psalms 83, you see what these kings of the earth, they have order. They're organized. It's not just the kings of the earth scattered and doing whatever. And they just gonna at one time go and fight Yahweh Shai, who they ignorantly call Jesus Christ. Let's get Psalm 83. And we're gonna start from verse 3. It says, talking about the kings of the earth. It says, they have taken crafty counsel against thy people and consulted against thy hidden ones. Verse 4, they have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. Okay. It says in verse 5, for they have consulted together with one consent. Who are together? Who consulting together? The enemies of the Lord. These kings of the earth. But that's what they said in chapter 2 of Psalm. Let us cut their bands asunder. Meaning they're banding together. Let us break them apart. And then it says, this is verse 5, Psalm 83. For they consulted together with one consent. They are confederate against thee. Now it's going to name the kings of the earth. It's an order to this thing. Verse 6, it say the tabernacles of Edom. Okay, the tabernacles of Edom is the head of the kings of the earth. They are leading the kings of the earth. And the Ishmaelites. The Ishmaelites are the Arabs. The children of Abraham's child with the bondwoman. That's the Arabs over there. Then of Moab, that's the Chinese, and the Hagarenes, the African. So it names, I'm not going to name all of them, but it names all of the kings of the earth who have kingdoms. And the Israelites is the only kingdom, according to Micah, don't have a king. They dwell with no king. So, okay, you have the nation of Edom is the first name that when it talks about they consulted together, it named the nation of Edom first. Okay, why did it name the nation of Edom? Let's go to Deuteronomy. Let's go to Genesis 36. Genesis 36, verse 8, it say, no, let's do verse 1. Now these are the generations of Esau, who is Edom. Let's jump down to verse 8 of Genesis 36. Thus dwell Esau in Mount Seir. Esau is Edom. Okay, so now we see that Esau is running and controlling the kings of the earth. They're leading the kings of the earth. And that's this red dragon. These 10 kings is the leaders of the kings of the earth. They have the military. But let's get who Esau is when it comes to Jacob and the Israelites. They say they trying to come against God and his people, the Israelites. The kings of the earth being led by Edom. Okay, Genesis 25 and 23. Let's start it from the beginning. Let's say, and the Lord said unto her, talking about Isaac's wife, Rebekah. It says, and the Lord said unto her, 2 nations are in thy womb, and 2 manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels, and the one people shall be stronger than the other people, and the elder shall serve the younger. 24. And when their days to be delivered were fulfilled, behold, there were twins in her womb. 25. And the first came out red, all over like an hairy garment, and they called his name Esau. So Esau was the twin brother of Jacob. So Jacob was God's anointed, and Esau was his twin brother. So did Esau and Jacob get along? That's a main subject. Did they get along? Let's get right to the point. Verse 41. 27:41, it say, and Esau hated Jacob because of the blessing wherewith his father blessed him. And Esau said in his heart, the days of mourning for my father are at hand. Then will I slay my brother Jacob. So now you see pretty much that Esau, he wanting to kill his brother due to the blessing. He hate his brother. So now when Esau becomes a mighty nation, now they can say, we gonna join the other kings against our brother that we hate, Jacob. And so that's who the adversary of Jacob and the Israelites, who are God's people and who represent God, his witnesses. Because let's get that in Isaiah. Isaiah is letting you know it's 2 different sets of people that's been main characters. There's 2 situations going on. Let's get Isaiah 43, then we're going to go to the Apocrypha, and something that says something similar. 43, it says, let's do verse 1 and let it be known who's being talked about here, which we know the Bible was written to the Israelites. Verse 43, it say, but now, thus says the Lord that created thee, O Jacob, and he that formed thee, O Israel. Fear not, for I have redeemed thee. I have called thee by thy name, thou art mine. You see, the Lord letting Israel know they are his people. He using them as his possession. They represent him. Now, this is him talking to the kings of the earth. In Isaiah 43:9, he say, let all the nations be gathered together, and let the people be assembled. Who among them can declare this and show us former things? It said, let them bring forth their witnesses, that they may be justified. Or let them hear and say, it is truth. Verse 10. You are my witnesses, thus says the Lord, and my servant whom I have chosen. Who did he choose? He chose the nation of Israel. The nation of Israel is his witnesses. You see? And he telling these other nations, he say, all the nations, gather yourselves together. And who among you, who among the kings of the earth, who among the heathen that's raging, who among you that can show us the former things, like my people Israel can, because he gives them prophecy. See? And so that's letting you know it's a divide. The kings of the earth are against God and his people. Now let's get Esther in the Apocrypha. Let's get Esther, the Apocrypha. Let's see here. Addition to Esther. Chapter 10. And we're going to start at verse 10. Chapter 10, verse 10. Therefore have he made two lots, one for the people of God and another for all the Gentiles. You see? That's what's going on. It's two lots, one for the Israelites and one for the heathen. And so that's why it's a dragon, the 10 kings and the kings of the earth, and it's the woman with the 12 stars in Revelation. They are the children of Israel, because it's two lots that the Lord have created. You see? That's why in Isaiah, let's get Isaiah 40, verse 17. It says, all nations before him are nothing, and they are counted to him less than nothing and vanity, because they was warned against his people. When they realized that his people was conquering the Canaanites, they came against him. So Isaiah, Isaiah's in Babylon, way after he chose his people, because he chose his people in Egypt. And so he said, let me read that again. Isaiah 40 and 17. All nations before him are nothing, and they are counted to him less than nothing and vanity. You see, God is focusing on his people. So when you talking about a war in heaven, they fighting against God. It's the kings of the earth fighting against the Israelites that's on earth, and they fighting against God that's showing up in the heavens, riding on, with his only begotten son, riding on a white horse or a chariot, the so-called UFO that they see. And so let's get these enemies of the Lord and his people. Now we talking about Jacob and Esau too, so let's see what that's all about, and let's get another verse for these kings of the earth. Let's get Jeremiah chapter 51 verse 20. It says, thou art my battle axe and weapons of war. For with thee will I break in pieces the nation, and with thee will I destroy kingdoms. So the Most High is using his nation of Israel to fight against these other nations. Okay? And so it's one specific nation that's leading all these other nations, which are the Edomites. Because Esau cried for a blessing, and his blessing was to rule the earth. Just like Jacob had a blessing. So Jacob got the blessing to rule the earth, and then Esau cried to get his blessing to rule the earth. And like Hebrews 11 and 20 say, both of them was blessed. Both of them was blessed. Okay, so let's get Ezekiel chapter 25 and let you see what this whole thing is about. It says in verse 25 and 14, it says, I will lay my vengeance upon Edom by the hand of my people Israel, and they shall do in Edom according to my anger and according to my fury. They shall know my vengeance, says the Lord God. So the Lord is going to use his people, Israel, as a battle axe against the Edomites and the rest of the nation. Because the Edomites is ruling with the rest of the nation. Now, when you go into the Maccabees, you understand how Edom rule or lead the rest of the nations. Let's see, first Maccabees, I'm thinking, chapter 5. If not, it's second Maccabees. Nope, first Maccabees, chapter 5. Now, here we go. He said in verse 3, he said, Thus Judas fought against the children of Esau in Idumea at Arabictine, because they besieged Israel. Okay, so the Edomites, the children of Esau, is fighting against Israel and besieging them. Okay, so let's jump down to 1 Maccabees 5 and 9. It say, Then the heathen that were at Gilead assembled themselves together against the Israelites that were in their quarters. You see? So the Edomites was leading the charge, fighting against the Maccabees. First of all, they was in rulership. The first rulership, the Greeks. Maccabees 1 and 1, let you know that King Alexander the Great, which was an Edomite, they was fighting against the Israelites. All through the Maccabees, the Greek kingdom was fighting against the Israelites. And Alexander the Great was the first Edomite. He died and other Greeks took over, and they was ruling the world. So they want to take over Jerusalem, and they'd heard about this is the Holy Land, this is the sacred land of God. So they want to take it over, and they're Edomites. But you see, all the heathen assembled themselves together against it. Verse 10 of 1 Maccabees 5 and 10, and sent letters unto Judas and his brethren, the heathen that are round about us are assembled together against us to destroy us. Is that not what King David said? Let's get that one more time with King David in Psalms 2. Verse 1 of Psalms 2, it say, Why do the heathen rage, and the people imagine a vain thing? Chapter 2, verse 2 of Psalm, The kings of the earth set themselves, and the rulers take counsel together. See, That's why they gathered them. The heathen gathered themselves together. That is say, why do the heathen rage? Because they imagining that they can go and battle with the Israelites, with the blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans of today. They really think that they can battle the Israelites and defeat them. And they think they can do it even though God is with the Israelites. They still think that they can go beat them. And that's an unprofitable thought. It's not going to happen. And so they also know, since the King David time, the Greeks understand, and the Romans, all of the Edomites kingdom understand the prophecies that was given to the Israelites, the blessing. Because that's why Esau hated Jacob from the beginning. He had the blessing. They hated him from the beginning when they found out he had the blessing to rule over them, that they would have to bow down to him. They hated Jacob because of that, and they planned to kill him from the beginning. So all the way through these red dragons. Then the great red dragon is called a red dragon. Edom means red, and Edom is the children of Esau. That's not a coincidence that he put a red dragon. It could have been a black, blue, white dragon, any kind of dragon, but you put a red dragon. That lets you know Edom is the leader of all the heathens and the main kings of that great red dragon. And the beast is these kings of the earth. It's just another name for the kings of the earth and their military. See, that's why I say the beast and the kings of the earth and their armies, to be specific. They was Satan the devil. That's who was fighting against the Israelites. That's who was warring against the angels coming out of heaven. It was the Israelites. I mean, it was these kings of the earth that was warring against the angels. Salaki. Now, what we at? We got another thing that lets you know the Edomites are leading the kings of the earth. They are the leaders. Job chapter 9:24. It said the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. So the whole earth is given into the hands of the wicked. So all the kings of the earth is being controlled by the Edomites. They're being led by the Edomites. You see, because the earth was given to them. So even though they kings in the earth, they still ain't over the wicked. The wicked is controlling the kings of the earth. That's who Satan is. That's who the devil is. See, these people want to promote Christianity lies about a fallen angel. The Bible is about God versus the so-called white man. That's what it's about. Because he done told his people, you can't do nothing. Let's get down to Zephaniah. You got to wait on me. See, I'm going to war with these Edomites and these other nations. Because they'll attack you, my people. Even though I'm going to use you once the battle starts, but you still got to wait on me to start the battle. See, you can't start the battle before me. Now this is in Zechariah. All right, 2 places in Zechariah. No, Zephaniah and then in Zechariah. Salaki. Zechariah 3:8. It say, therefore wait you upon me, says the Lord, until the day that I rise up to the prey. For my determination is